here we go. So again, if you need to look at stuff to be able to review, great. If you can just remember, even better. Who is one person who can name the 8 parts of speech? Will.
Noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, conjunction, interjection, preposition.
Did anybody count? Okay. Good job. I'm going to believe that, yeah. Let's do it one more time. Say it again.
Noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction, interjection.
Okay, awesome. 8. That's great. So you need to be able to do that. What are the 5 parts of a complete sentence? All 5 of them, Abigail.
In mark, punctuation, make sense.
Okay, wait a second. In mark is the punctuation.
Capitalization at the beginning. Makes sense, has a subject, and has a verb.
Awesome. Okay, those 5 parts. What are the 4 sentence structures, Luke?
Simple, compound, complex, and compound complex.
Okay, and Gob, what are the 4 sentence types?
Imperative, interrogative, declarative, and exclamatory.
And exclamatory. Okay, and how can you remember the difference between sentence structures and sentence types? There's 4 of each. Did I tell you the hack yesterday? Oh, I didn't tell you. Okay, because every year there's like 4 people that swap them and they get them wrong, and it breaks my heart. So sentence structures, structure starts with S, and the first one is simple. Okay, so if you can just tie those together. For structures, the first one will start with S. Okay, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause? Hunter.
A clause or a phrase is not a complete sentence, and a clause can be a complete sentence.
But it could also be an incomplete sentence because there's 2 types of clauses. Okay,
And-
let me ask this a little bit different. Hunter, I'm going to ask you the first part, then I'm going to ask somebody else the second part. What do phrases and clauses have in common? What is true about both of them? And it goes back to your definition yesterday. Okay, if you're drawing a blank, that's okay. Can anybody tell me, what is it that they both are? Hudson.
Is it the subject to a verb? They both have a subject to a verb?
No.
Is that right?
No, that's the difference. What do they have in common?
They're both groups of words.
Groups of words. Okay? Both of those definitions start with a group of words. Okay? Now, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause? Anybody want to try that, Will?
A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb, and then a phrase does not have a subject and a verb.
Okay. Do you guys have that? The phrase doesn't have subject and verb. It would have one or the other. A clause has to have subject and verb. However, there are 2 types of clauses. And what are those 2 types of clauses, Maggie?
Oh, dependent and independent.
Independent, okay? And which one, Hunter, can stand alone? Independent or dependent?
Independent can stand alone.
Independent, okay? So a clause isn't necessarily something that can stand alone. It just has subject and a verb. So dependent and independent. Okay, with independent can stand alone, what conjunctions are used with independent clauses? Weston?
Coordinating.
Coordinating, good. Any brave soul want to name the coordinating connections? Lydia, do you remember the fanboys?
Or, and, nor, but, or, yes.
Okay, awesome. So even if you don't go to bed every night reciting fanboys, like you can look at that acronym and go, okay, I think I have this. So coordinating conjunctions go with independent clauses to join them. And then Stella, what type of conjunctions preceded dependent clause? Subordinate. Yeah, that's right. Subordinated conjunctions. Abigail, can you name them? Can you do the WWAJB?
Oh yeah. When, while, where, as, since, if, although, because.
Awesome. Okay. And then we've got 4 sentence structures, and now I want you to define them, and I want you to define them in terms of clauses. So Cal, how would you define a simple sentence?
One independent clause.
One independent clause. Freddie, how would you define a compound sentence?
Is it one independent clause? And is it,
You're halfway there, not one independent clause, but,
two independent clauses?
Two independent clauses.
Oh.
and we've already talked about coordinating conjunctions, but so simple, one independent clause. Compound, two independent clauses. Keenan, can a compound sentence have more than two independent clauses?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, define a complex clause. Kent, I haven't called on you. What is a complex? Complex sentence defined by clauses.
An independent and a dependent clause.
And a dependent clause. And then, Hudson, can a complex sentence have more than one dependent clause?
Can have more than one what?
Dependent clause?
Yes.
Yes, it can. Okay, and then finally, compound, complex. Luke, how could you define that?
Two independent clauses and one dependent clause with a coordinating conjunction is coordinating conjunction.
Yeah, but just as far as clauses, two and one, it could have more than two independent clauses, it could have more than one, but that's just the framework. Okay, so let's just say, you guys seem pretty strong in this, and we're gonna keep talking about this, but grammar is going to go on the back burner for about 10 days, and the test on this isn't actually going to come until the middle of September. So that gives you time, if you're new, or if you're a little murky about this, to go to Quizlet, and you're gonna put that in, and you're gonna go to the Unit 1 flashcards and just start drilling this. So just what I asked you, that's all on Quizlet, and you wanna make sure that you can really land that, because that's gonna be on the test, and that's like, gosh, 3.5 weeks away. But start preparing now. 10 minutes a day could yield something very beneficial to you. Okay, so we're gonna do dress-ups. And I'd like you to get out a piece of paper. And usually, by the time the 8th grade gets to me, I just assume that you know your dress-ups. But this year I want to actually go over them. And I want you to have that review. And then I also, on this piece of paper, I want you to do some application. Okay, so I want everybody, on your blank piece of paper, would you write this sentence? Julia and Nadia found a seashell. Yes.
I didn't get one.
I have extra.
Oh, Abigail, you are the line leader. Okay, there you go. Everybody else, you have an extra?
I don't know.
You might give it to Meg.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Oh, never mind.
I have an
Here.
extra now. Oh, wait, never mind.
Okay, those of you at the front of your row, you have great responsibility.
I forgot.
So, you're writing this on your blank piece of paper. Julia and Nadia found a seashell. So this is gonna be our basic sentence. And, let's just, because we're doing a little bit of grammar, let's just label the subject verb. Okay, Will, can you see this? Yes, you can't see this. Charlie, I'm sorry, not Will. What is the subject of this sentence, Lydia?
Julian and
Okay, so we have two. Oops. And Keenan, what's the verb?
Found.
Found. Okay, so we have two subjects and one verb. But how many subject-verb pairs is that, Stella? One, okay? So it doesn't matter if you have 2, 3, 4 subjects. If there's one verb, that's one pair. Likewise, if I had multiple verbs and they went with the same subject, one pair. So if we were going to categorize this sentence, Kent, would we say it's a simple, compound, complex? Compound, complex.
It's a simple.
Simple, because it's just got one independent clause. Okay, so that's our grammar part. Now, as far as style goes, you've got structure, which is the grammar, and you've got style, and we want to have sentences that are interesting and expressive. So this is a very basic sentence. It's not very expressive. So we're going to go over these dress-ups, and we are going to improve this sentence. So your first dress-up is a quality adjective. Okay? So what's an adjective describe? Hudson? A noun. So, how can we improve this sentence by putting a quality adjective in, Maggie?
Julia and Nadia found a beautiful seashell.
Okay. So, you're gonna write this, a beautiful seashell. Okay, now, you guys are fortunate enough to live in the era of online dictionary. So, if you ever are looking for adjectives, you could just think of a word like pretty or even beautiful and go and see what other words. Maybe magnificent, extraordinary, splendid. You can find all sorts of other quality adjectives. Okay, so here's our adjective. Second, dress up. Strong verb. So you guys know there are banned verbs. And we're going to talk about banned words at the end of class today or tomorrow. But let me just say, this is not a banned verb, but it's kind of weak. So could somebody give me, without even looking at a thesaurus, could somebody give me another verb in place of found? Kent?
Discovered?
Discovered. Okay. So I'll let you put that in. Okay, so now this is looking better already. Did anybody have another verb? Luke?
Uncovered,
Uncovered,
spotted.
spotted. So there's all sorts of verbs. And so one of the things, I'm going to move this over for filming. One of the things we want you to do is to have a good vocabulary and use lots of different words. So an ly adverb. What's an adverb describe, Gob? A verb. Or what else? Anybody? Stella? An adjective or another adverb. So we are going to add an adverb, and there, like I said before, there are ly adverbs, but there's lots of other verbs, adverbs. So we could have one in front of discovered or one in front of beautiful. So anybody want to take a shot at that? Can anybody think of Julian and Nadia? Let's try to put one here. Let's try to put an adverb that describes how or when they discovered. Okay, Stella? Okay, excitedly would be grammatically correct. But because excitedly is an overused adverb, just for this exercise, I want you guys to try to come up with something else. Hudson?
Finally.
Okay, finally. So, finally discovered. Now, let's add another adverb in front of beautiful. What would be another adverb that could describe beautiful? Oh, that's good. Discovered an unbelievably beautiful seashell. Okay, so we've got an adverb here. We've got an adverb here. Finally discovered an unbelievably beautiful seashell. So already our sentence is kind of coming to life. So much better than Julian and Nadia found a seashell. Okay, next dress up would be a who-which clause. Who-which clauses, I love and hate them. Like, they give extra information, but a lot of times they're very awkward. The trick is, how do you find a who-which clause that isn't awkward? You want to try Abigail?
Sure. Julia and Nadia, who were walking on the beach, finally discovered an unbelievably beautiful seashell.
Okay, that was so good. Let's do that. I'm just going to insert this. Julian and Nadia, who were walking on the beach. Yes? Absolutely. You know what? I tried to find that email and then I couldn't find it. Can you resend it to me? Okay. I'll go back. Okay. So, now, I want to commend Abigail. This is perfect. Some people do who-which clauses that to me are a little silly. Like, Julian and Nadia, who were children, found a seashell. Okay? Julian and Nadia, who were friends. Like, just things that we don't really need to know. And so this is good. Julian and Nadia, who were walking on the beach, finally discovered an unbelievably beautiful seashell. How do you guys punctuate who, which clauses? What have you learned about punctuating, Hudson?
The commas.
Okay, usually with commas, we're going to talk more about, there are some who, which clauses that are separated with commas. There are some that aren't. Okay, but we're going to do commas here. So, gosh, our sentence is really coming to life. Okay, adverb clause. So now we're going to add one more thing. Weston, this is going to be for you. So you're going to, and actually, yeah, I just want you something. Let's talk about when they might be doing this. When do you think they would be walking on the beach? Or, I'm sorry, that was a very poor prompt. That actually would be better for preposition. Can you think of a phrase that would start with when, while, as? Those would be some easy ones. When, while, as.
We're exhausted after walking on the beach.
Well, you're going to need to start with a WWH. So when, while, where, as, since, if, although, because. But I think when I'm looking at it, I think of when or while.
When they were walking.
What's tricky is we have this who, which clause, right? So, Will, you got an idea?
After they gobbled down their dinner, Julia and Nadia, who were walking on the. Oh, wait,
Okay, no, actually you've got it, but you're using another one of the W. You're using another subordinating clause. So, let me give you one right here. When they were on vacation, okay? When they were on vacation, Julian and Nadia finally discovered, when they were on vacation, Julia and Nadia, who were walking on the beach, finally discovered an unbelievably beautiful seashell. Okay? Now at this point, do you feel the sentence getting a little heavy? It's getting a little heavy. So we're doing this to illustrate, but I can tell you right now I would probably break that up. I just want you on your piece of paper to have something that illustrates each of these. Okay? So this is going to be that adverb clause. Now you're not going to label these unless it helps you, okay? But when you write your paragraph, I'm going to say, hey, in your paragraph I want you to have 5 dress-ups and I want you to have 5 different sentence openers. So I want to make sure you're clear on it.
So we don't mark them?
You're not marking them,
Like, okay.
okay? Now, what I may have you do is I may have you highlight them, not label them. Does that make sense? And really, that's a help to you because then you can count. You can go, oh yeah, I've got 5 openers and I've got 5. But I'm not going to have you mark them at this point because I'm trusting you know how to use these. Now, the advanced, I want you to put a star next to dual verbs, adverbs or adjectives, and invisible who, which clauses. So right now you're choosing from the basics and you're choosing from those 2 advanced. So the advanced is just when you use 2 verbs, 2 ly words, 2 adjectives, and you connect them with a conjunction. So let's see, how could we do this? How could you add another adjective here? An unbelievably beautiful and blank seashell. Hudson?
And striped.
Okay, an unbelievably beautiful and striped, or you could even say striped seashell. Okay, unbelievably beautiful and exotic. So I just want you to see that. So if you double up, that's one. Now the one I'm most interested is the invisible who, which clauses, and I don't think you learned this last year. This is really good. Who which clauses I think get clunky. And the more sophisticated you get in your writing, you can drop the who which. So, how could we drop the who which from this? And by the way, I'm going to take this off for the moment. Okay? So, Julian and Nadia, who were walking on the beach, finally discovered. How could you, Stella?
Julie and Nadia walking on the beach finally discovered a really, really beautiful striped seashell.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Now all of a sudden it becomes a participle phrase. And you could move it to the beginning. You could say walking on the beach, Julian and Nadia. Either way, okay? But that is an invisible who which. And let me give you another example. If I said Lydia, who is a student at Caldwell, has one sister? Okay. Lydia, who is a student? I could just drop the who. Lydia, a student at Caldwell, has one sister. So a lot of times you don't need that who which. Sometimes you need it, but a lot of times you don't, and that's a dress up. Okay? Okay, any questions about the dress ups? Let's go to openers now. So what type of opener is this? Julian and Nadia found a seashell. Keenan, what type of opener is that?
A subject opener.
That's a subject opener. It's really basic. That's what we learn in first grade. You know, Spot ran. The dog chased the cat. Like, start with the subject. But now let's see if we can make a list of sentences with different openers. So, Weston, I'm going to come back to you. This is the question I was asking you earlier. If we're going to do a preposition opener, sometimes it's great to put that at the beginning and ask the question when or where. So, what time of day could Julian and Nadia be at the beach?
Daytime, or
Okay, so
it's in the morning.
okay, perfect. So in the morning. So this is going to be an example of number 2. In the morning, Julia and Nadia found a seashell. Or we could say at the beach, Julian and Nadia found a seashell. Okay? Okay, I'm just going to say number 2 because that will tie. So write an example of that. Okay, so on these, just do number 2 and write that sample. Okay? Because I really want to make sure, and if you're not sure about openers, I'm trying to give you some illustrations. You may be sitting there and going, I got this. But I do want you to have an example. So that's an example of a prepositional opener. Let's do another one. Let's do a number 3. So an adverb opener. How could we open this sentence with an adverb? Don't say happily or excitedly. Any ideas? Gab, you got an idea?
No.
It's just not, okay, so we have in the morning, we can take that off. So how could we start this with an ly opener? Hudson? Okay, so here's what I think. If we say, I think finding an adverb that answers the question of time is really helpful.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's an ly adverb.
Go ahead and try it.
Finally,
That's really good. Okay, so we have finally in here, right?
Yeah.
But we can pull that to the front. Finally, and this would be a sentence that comes after maybe a whole story of like them going out on the beach, their first day of the vacation, and combing for seashells. And finally, Julian and Nadia found a seashell. Okay? So that's an example of an ly opener. And then, okay, an ing phrase. I want you to actually write next to that participle phrase. Because I really do want to start using this word more. It's a participle phrase. and it could be ing, it could also be ed, both of those. So, Will, how could we open this with a participle phrase?
Well, you could do walking on the beach.
Yeah. So we've already kind of done this, like when they walked on the beach, but we can just change that and say walking on the beach. Okay, and then the same sentence. Okay, so there's a little bit more variety. And then we did this before, but let's just do it again. Can somebody do a subordinating opener, like a WWA should be? Freddie, I'm gonna ask you, how could you start this sentence with the word when?
Like when walking on the beach?
Right, so just that. So when walking on the beach, or while walking on the beach. Okay? And then our very short sentence. This is so important. How many words are in a very short sentence? Weston, what would you say?
2 to 5.
You nailed it. Okay, very good. Every year I have people who say, no, we can use 6. No, it's 2 to 5, okay? So write that out to the side, 2 to 5 sentences. So let's actually add a sentence. Let's go to this number 3. Finally, Julian and Nadia found a seashell. What's a very short sentence we could add at the end? Abigail?
It was sparkly.
Okay, good. It was sparkly. They were excited. They were surprised. So this is a VSS. And I think there's this real belief that a good sentence is one that's long. I am really into accurate sentences and often concise sentences. VSS will break up your writing, and a lot of times it can be very dramatic. Okay, so let me just, does anybody have a question about sentence openers? Everybody should have an example of each one of these openers. When we start into our writing assignment, that's going to be due next Friday, I'm going to ask you 5 dress-ups, and I'm going to ask you to use 5 of the sentence openers. So we're just going to practice using this. Now for some of you, here's the belief with IEW. IEW gives you all this scaffolding, and it's really clunky. And you guys have gotten tired, haven't you, of highlighting and labeling? And but what we hope, and what I've seen happen with students in the past, is after you've done that for a while, your brain just starts thinking in terms of strong verbs. Your brain just starts going, oh, I need an adjective. And so that's the idea. We're pulling away the scaffolding, and we want you, hopefully, to have a style. That's what we're going for, is a style. Okay? Okay, so this handout is going to go in the writing section of your notebook, and you're going to keep it all year long, and we're going to reference that. So, oh, and by the way, on the back of this is prepositions. So let's just say you're one of those people who hasn't memorized your prepositions. There they are.
We had a song.
I have songs. I just, like right now, I'm not going to teach them to you. Oh, and adverb clause starters. And then there's band words. But I'm about to give you another band word thing. So both of these are going to be writing resources that you're going to pass that back. Are you singing your preposition songs?
Bingo.
Okay. Let's see how we're doing with time. Wow. Okay. So let's just talk. you guys to look at this list of banned words. So banned words is something in IAW where we just say these are easy words that people will put in their writing that often are not very descriptive. If you go out in the world, if you write for a newspaper or you write a blog or you write in college, I dare say that no professor or boss is ever going to say, your article had a banned word in it. They're not. But what they are going to notice is whether you have good vocabulary. And these are words that are overused and they can easily be replaced. In the real world, there are times you need to use the word said. There are times you need to use the word saw. But we're trying to get you to grow your vocabulary. So for this purpose, and actually even in rhetoric is not, the teachers aren't going to say that's a banned word. But they are going to notice if you have a good vocabulary. So one more year of trying to stretch your vocabulary. So are there any banned words that you guys have learned that we're missing here? Okay, I'm going to add one. And it's not a verb, adjective, or adverb. Would you just write somewhere on there, things? Things. Things is a word that people reach for when they don't know what else to say. And I want you to try to be more specific. So you might, if I said, hey Freddie, can you walk over to the bookcase and get that thing? Freddie, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Okay, but if I say, Freddie, can you walk over to the bookcase and get the artwork and bring it to me? You know. So I want you to be very specific about things. Okay, let's see. Do I want to? I think I'm going to wait on the banned word wrap because I didn't do it with my other class and I want to keep you guys on the same page. So let's do this. Let's put this in the back. And I think you just have a couple minutes to talk. You've got 2 minutes to talk. So good job listening today. Charlie, we miss you. Can't wait for you to come back.